when I first met you, you were, OpenPeak was already up and running, and you were building remote controls, and you saw an opportunity to be able to take every electronic device that was in the home and that you could connect them wirelessly, and you identified what was called the MAC address of every device. You could do that automatically, and you were going to revolutionize everything that meant home control, home media centers, and things of that sort. And it was a big idea. It's a huge idea today, but you were ahead of the curve, and you had to pivot and go in a different direction. Tell a little bit about how you had the insight to see something that's turned out to be huge, but why you were early in the game, and why you had to pivot and go in a different direction.
Yeah, so I think we saw that market coming on, and it really was going to be about taking all of these different devices and making them work, you know, and having a layer of software that would make them work and manage in a very, very easy fashion. The issue was there was no prevalent devices. There weren't iPhones, there weren't Android phones out there. So you were literally, you know, it was a tough game to do because you were literally writing custom software for every device out there. But one of the things that we learned during the way was enterprise market is probably easier to make money in than the consumer market, where you have to get very, very lucky with just a massive hit. And then we were really, really good at managing devices. And so as I saw we were great at managing devices, I realized our core strength in this whole thing was our cloud-based system that could take different devices and manage them in a very effective way. We also realized, you know, devices as they were coming out, it wasn't really just about the device and managing them. They're just sheets of glass. It's the applications that people used. So we took all of the learnings that we had, and actually even that remote almost looked a little bit even like an iPhone with the icons that popped out of there. And so we had really good management capabilities for these individual applications. And so as I saw the world of, you know, telephony was changing, you know, iPhones were out everywhere, iPads were coming out, Android phones, we realized that there really were platforms out there that were going to spread, you know, in like wildfire in mass numbers. So these were the devices that we should be managing. And I knew that also that as people were taking these things into the enterprise in droves, enterprises were going to have a problem they never had before. Up until now, you know, every computer was the same, every OS was the same, and IT dictated exactly how they were going to manage and control these.
So what I think was really interesting was that along the way, you had clearly gotten a pretty good domain experience of building enterprise commercial level software. You had moved into a new market category, which was about home control and all the things that you could do with software wirelessly connected to other devices. But you were early in the game because there weren't smartphones and tablets out at the time that you started that. But you did start to build relationships with the wireless carriers. And in that experience, I remember when you were working with Verizon, you know, building a whole system for them, you had to learn a new domain. And the new domain was the highly complex world of wireless carriers, about the whole way billing systems work, the whole way security systems work. And then you realized that there was an opportunity after Apple came out with the iPad, and was pretty much game over for anyone else trying to build a device unless you were going to be Samsung or you're going to build on top of Android. And you said, I think I can take that experience that you had gained in the domain of IT software, software as a service platforms, in the world of understanding what wireless carriers thought about, and you went into what's now known as BYOD, bring your own device. Describe a little bit about what BYOD is and why that's turned out to be such a phenomenal pivot for you.
Yeah, so we saw, like I said, we saw people bringing devices into the enterprises actually in huge numbers. And there's no company in the world where somebody, some executive, or every employee almost doesn't have a device of their own that they want to take in, have corporate email on that.
So it used to be that corporations had budgets to say, we will spend so much per employee for a personal computer. And then now it's really changed, and they say, well, wait a minute, people don't use personal computers as much as they used to. You know, they're using mobile devices. They want to be able to have their personal information on it. There's business information we need them to have. And so they changed the model and said, okay, we'll give you an allowance to go and buy your own device but it created a whole new set of issues for corporations about security. How do you deal with security on a mobile device that is both personal information of the employee and communications, and also the highly secured world of what businesses have to deal with?
Yeah, and it's a huge problem. Even in our company, which is a few hundred employees, I would say where a year ago we were still giving out cell phones to probably 80 or 90% of the people, I would say it's probably 5% of the people that come in now that we give cell phones. They already have their own. So the whole issue is, it's a fewfold. So number one, it's managing your corporate information in a secure way that the employee can't steal that or take that with him when he leaves. And at the same time, a company doesn't always want to have, you have some lewd message from some person or a joke on there that the company doesn't want to have any liability for having on their phone as well. So this BYOD came in, and so we realized that if we could create a virtual container where we could have a set of applications that the company pushes out to the device, secure email, secure calendar, secure contacts, and then the key for us was also creating a system where we could take any third-party application and inject it with our technology so the developers didn't have to do any more work, but we create an ecosystem of these secure apps. Now I knew once those secure apps are on your phone, you're never going to pull our system off, because it'd be like wiping Microsoft Office off of every PC.
So let's just zoom out a moment. When you went into the BYOD industry, bring your own device industry, which is clearly an enterprise sale, because you're talking to enterprises who want to secure their own information. There were already some pretty established competitors out there. So you had AirWatch, you had Mobile Iron, you had good technology, but they were all built at a different time. They were built at a time when we call this the enterprise client server world. And now we're in an era where everything has shifted, the power has shifted to the wireless carriers. And so now we're in a world where you saw the opportunity to build the BYOD mobile device management, not around client server, where there were established competitors, but around the requirements of the wireless carriers and the mobility world that we live in today. Talk a little bit about how that's been so important to you and what you've been able to do with it from a business standpoint.
Yeah, so again, it's not always about the technology. I mean, that's a big part about it, but it's about your strategy, your channel that you choose. So first of all, coming into the market sometimes a little later than everybody else gives you a little more insight. You can learn what they did. Where competitors are about managing the devices, for us, you're bringing in your own device, so it's about managing a set of applications in a secure fashion. Now, one of the things I saw was people are bringing in their own devices, but carriers were getting rid of unlimited data. And once I realized that that was happening, I knew exactly what we had to do. Because if you bring in your own device, you have your own data plan, and you're on a 3-hour video conference call on that phone, you could burn through your entire personal data plan in 3 or 4 hours. Now your rates are higher and you're effectively subsidizing the company. That doesn't work. So I realized, since we have an ecosystem of business applications out there, that we can track all of the data that you're using for your business. So coupled with our relationships with the carriers and our understanding of their billing system, we created a way that a carrier could provide what's heaven to them, split billing. And that's where basically you can take one phone and the consumer or the end user pays for their personal side and your corporation pays for the data that they're using. So this way it's absolutely a win-win. The end user pays less, the company pays for just the data that they're using, and the carrier now has 2 data plans on one phone, and the second data plan is totally unsubsidized. They don't have to subsidize that because you've already paid for the phone.